So my MVP of the 2020 spring split is Blaber, and this is also a video coming out, not knowing who is the actual MVP, but I'm gonna motherfucking bank on that it's Blaber, right? Because I just know my boy's gonna win it from Cloud9. Now, to tell you the truth, I have always doubted Blaber from the very start. I've said and I had agreed that Blaber essentially was a player that was just too aggressive. He overextended all the time, and he just didn't know necessarily where to be on the map at what time, and he just kind of brute forced plays quite frequently. And so this was all what I was saying before this year, and that's what I was kind of concerned for coming into this year for Cloud9. But I believe I still ranked them second overall in terms of my preseason power rankings. So there's that saving grace, you know what I mean? But to go into further details before I extrapolate why I think Blaber is the best, my entire theory on how to vote for MVP and how I did this year, because I did vote for Blaber as my MVP on the ballot, was that I voted as who is the most valuable player to the team, and then who is the most valuable player in the entire league. And so how I essentially break this down through just my process of logic is, okay, well, who is the best person in each different role, right? So, you have like Someday or Licorice for top lane, and then of course you have Blaber in the jungle, and then of course like Nizki in the mid lane, and like Sven and shit like that, right? And then you divvy all that up and you figure out who is the best at each role, and then you figure out, okay, well, now who is the most important into their entire team, and also in contrast to who is the best person in the entire league, almost independent of role. And so this is what I came up with. It's Blaber. He's just an incredible stud this year, and I think he's done a lot for Cloud9. What I think is most impressive about him, and this isn't necessarily an entire factor in what I went into when I decided him to be MVP, but I think it's kind of a cool storyline just as a back hinge. And of course, maybe this might tint a little bit of bias. You can never know. But I think he's toned down his just unbridled aggression. This guy used to be so stupidly fucking aggressive to where he would just invade past the river without vision, without his mid wave pushed. He would just go for these bonker plays. And which, now I think is largely logical of what he's trying to do, and I could see his game plan of how he wants to mold into the mid and late game. I could see his vision for the game, and I think it's more intelligent than we give credence to the name of what Blaber is normally known for. Although he still does go for some outplays, but I think players that go for these outplays, they go for them because they know that they are very mechanically skilled, and they have the confidence to think that they can go for these outplays. And so when you're this player that's overconfident, or you don't have enough skill in order to match your ego, that's when the disconnect happens. But that is not happening with Blaber. He's going for these plays. He knows he could fucking do them, and he can do them. So it's just this all-in-one package, and I think that's helped Cloud9 a lot this year. Now, at the time of this video, like I said, I don't know who the fuck's gonna win, but I'm banking on Blaber. But I could see Nizki actually winning it, given how the roles are so intertwined together, especially this year. But I still think that Blaber has just done more for his team as far as, just enabling all these different roles, essentially, because I think you have to praise Blaber for enabling different play styles that the team can actually adhere to, and also enabling different pressure points, right? It's like Cloud9 can carry from the top lane, they can carry from the mid lane, they can carry from the bot lane. Now, big difference being that Blaber mostly enables mid lane, secondary enables top lane, and then if bot lane is winning already, then he'll go down there and actually enable Sven and Vulcan. But like those are the primary conditions for the entire map states. And so it's kind of like he plays like a solo queue player in the sense, there's the cardinal rule of solo queue, which is don't gank a losing lane. Now, good thing is that Cloud9 pretty much never has a losing lane, but he shortens that rule to don't gank an even lane. And so sometimes Sven and Vulcan will go very even for the majority of the lane phase. And the good thing about this is when he ganks top lane, the cool thing is that, okay, if you get Licorice ahead, when you gank top lane now in the current meta, with Rift Herald being such priority, now you have a priority over Rift Herald, which then means you can snowball to other lanes. Now, before, what happened is you would be able to get control of mid lane, which he has done multiple times, which then Nizki is able to determine, okay, which lane do I actually want to snowball, top or bot? And that's often dependent upon the objective and, if Dragon's up or if Rift Herald's up or whatever, or, the state of the enemy jungler or whatnot. But largely, it's up to the mid laner to also snowball the entire map. With just trying to snowball the top lane, then that actual lead carries on to other parts of the map that you want it to. And also, the jungler grabbing the Rift Herald means that he has a little bit more say in where he's going to drop it and how things are going to pan out in terms of which lane they want to knock down and maybe set up a gank and then snowball everything afterwards. And so this is why Cloud9 has been able to kind of secure a very massive lead for a majority of their early games. And I also want to mention that basically there really isn't any standout plays that I've seen to where Blaber has inted, and like my whole idea about how this is so impressive that Blaber has filled the role of Svenskeren is the fact that my idea of the old Cloud9 was that Svenskeren was this moderate jungler to moderate aggressive, to where he would actually play aggressive, but he would use his fucking brain. And Blaber would go up in there, unbridled aggression, and just try and do things and try and make things very active and just pop the fuck off. Now, I don't know if this was started from Reaper just telling them that they need to play these two different styles and kind of psychologically controlling them into going into these two different directions. Not too divergent, but slightly divergent, right? To where later on, now that Blaber is the only sole person, he's able to rein that back in to more go towards an even path of good aggression, but not unfounded plays that is unfounded by a lack of knowledge or a lack of logic. So I just think Blaber has done a good job in just reining that in. Or, if Reaper has done that for him, then kudos to him. I think it's kind of a little bit of A, a little bit of B. So, as I said before, Blaber has done great in terms of determining different pressure points that he can use across his entire team, which allows his entire team to be lethal. And I think this is one of the best teams that we've seen in North America that is versatile in almost every single lane, and that you can play in it through every single lane. And I think that every single lane would actually be strong internationally. So, with that said, now to go to his teammates and the integration with Vulcan, I think that's also impressive because if you look at the entire pool of jungle and support, this is probably one of the strongest jungle support duos in the entire league. I think the only thing that could hold a candle to this would be Santorin and Ignar in the recent times, of course. knowing the playoff status and everything. But in terms of just synergy, I think Vulcan and Blaber have done a great job, especially when you consider that it was something like Cloud9 hadn't had a tower taken since week 7 or week 8 was when their first tower ever got taken. So that's clearly got to show that they have very good objective control. They have a very good early game, and they have a very good idea of where the enemy team is going to be on the map at any given time and what their plan is. And that doesn't happen without good ward coverage and a good buddy system of how to get that ward coverage. So I think Cloud9 is just on an incredible job at that. And I can't sing enough praises for both Blaber and Vulcan in terms of just doing this duo system, because I feel like Vulcan actually hasn't gotten caught a lot in terms of getting vision for Cloud9. I feel like they have this good coordinated system which allows them to actually get deep vision and know where the enemy team is going to be at all times. And frankly, I think that's in great part and a great improvement for what Blaber was beforehand. Now, I think Blaber himself is, I'm just going to say this outright, I think he's the strongest aggressive jungler that we've ever seen in the NALCS ever in history. In the history of the NALCS, I think he is the strongest aggressive jungler. And this is even going past Rush in his prime. This is going past prime Meteos, even though, I mean, Meteos wasn't necessarily considered a super aggressive jungler. And I would even challenge that he is akin to prime Jankos in terms of just the crazy aggression and the ability to carry out that aggression. I think we have our own, NA First Blood King here. I think he is just a really good aggressive jungler, and this is not the lights that we've seen ever in terms of NALCS history. And it's kind of cool that Blaber is also an NA jungler. I think that kind of brings something to NA, and maybe people might actually recognize or give him some recognition after this. So kudos to Blaber. Kudos to him for having this phenomenal split. I think he wholeheartedly deserves MVP, and I can't wait to see what he does when it comes to just international competition, because I'm pretty sure that he's going to get there. Just congrats to Blaber and to Cloud9.